some rather special ingredients to a bizarre brew served up next on the Twilight Zone. An oddball printing press and editor with a stringer from the lower regions. They're just a few as we bring you Robert Sterling, Patricia Crowley, and special guest star Burgess Merideth in Charles Beaumont's Printer's Devil.
What's the matter?
Matter?
Why did you quit?
Finished.
Why would a man with your talent want to work for a hick paper like the Courier?
Call it a challenge.
What even is that? Is Meredith?
That is so Penguin, by the way.
Yeah, never.
Yeah.
That is a cigar. It is a very powerful cigar, which
That's
I'll get
very
to later.
crooked. Kind of like a Wonky House Wizard cigar or something like that.
You know, Gandalf's been token up.
So I think they do this a few times in season 4. They actually give you like a little bit of a clip from the episode.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to actually see something that wasn't rod or a prop or a cigarette.
Yeah, we're jumping ahead here to season 4 of the Twilight Zone, so I'm expecting. Yeah, this is a longer episode as well. I think this is like 50 minutes. Did you say?
All the season 4 ones are double the length. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did they do like half the season then, or?
Yeah, I think they did 17 episodes in this season instead of 30, whatever.
Makes sense. Yeah, fair enough.
That makes sense.
I'll see how that plays out then.
Yeah, I don't know what to think. I don't know what to expect. I'm feeling like there's what's the Twilight Zone aspect here, because I'm feeling like the Burgess Merideth character is more sort of like a quirky character in a normal situation kind of thing. That's the vibe I'm getting. So I'm wondering what the big classic Twilight Zone morality play or something is going to be.
Printer's Devil. That's an interesting one.
Is he the devil?
He wants to put out.
You talked about subtext.
Yeah, no, it's true. In terms of pre-rating, I guess I'll go for. I have to. You know what? Since we banned 7, I felt that's actually a really strong thing. Like people wanted to go 7. I was like, no,
yeah.
Stick to your convictions.
That's why.
You know what? Based purely on the logic that it has what Robert Sterling in it, who I'm guessing is Rod's brother, I am going to go ahead and guess that Rod. I think that's what you said in the opening bit there.
He said someone.
I don't think that's his, because Serling and Sterling are two different names.
Oh, okay, I must have misheard it.
It's the same, clearly. There is actually a Robert. There is actually Robert Serling, but this is not him. So.
Okay. Because I was going to say, if it was his brother, he wouldn't let his brother be in a subpar episode. So, knowing that, guess what?
That's
what nepotism works.
Like, haha, this will get him.
Gotcha. You know what? Screw it. I'll give it an 8. I'm
Okay.
optimistic. I have not been.
Yeah, no.
There's only been one duff episode so far, in my opinion.
I think that I feel like we're going to see media run away with something here, whether we're going to get like an early edition type thing where we get tomorrow's news today, or if it comes on a mind of its own. I'd like to see where they go with it. I've got a good premonition. Plus, Burgess Meredith again. How can you not? So I'll go 8.
You're gonna go 8. Is 8 gonna be the new 7 now?
It's the new 7.
You're gonna sit in that 6 and 8
All the
fence
numbers.
now. I am going to go for a cautious 5. I'm cautious because of the longer length. I feel like some of the Twilight Zone episodes have felt long even though they haven't, and I feel like I wonder if this might be edging on too long. Maybe this might be a bit more. There might be a bit more chaff in here.
There
So
might
I'll
be
go for a
room for more
5.
characterization here, because all the characterization we've had has been relatively sort of their archetypes rather than people. But 50 minutes means you get more time to build up actual characters. So I'm optimistic.
Okay.
Well, Idol's edging Otto. What do you think?
This is this thing for the show, isn't it? So this is in our initial 15-16 episode run. This is the only season 4 one, because as Dan is fond of saying, we like those tight 22s. And Twilight Zone, frankly, does not work great in the hour-long episode. That being said, this is Burgess friggin' Meredith, so I will pre-rate this 8. And I will say, if you've been following along this far, and to you three guys, this is kind of the moment in the order where we should kind of reset our brain. There's not going to be as many heavy sci-fi giant, criticism of humanity kind of thing. We're going to start to get a little lighter. So, but that being said, I still think this is a fun watch. So 8.
Awesome. All right, let's go and watch the episode.
This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the Twilight Zone.
Welcome everyone to the Holodeck, our intrepid journey through things that are non-Trek, and we are continuing our journey through the Twilight Zone, going on to the Devil's Printer, a season 4 episode of the Twilight Zone. The Printer's Devil. That way around. Yeah, slightly longer episode, season 4, delving into 50.
The Devil's Epson.
Yes. Yes, the Devil's HP contract printer. Yeah. Will you sell your soul for ink? How many toner cartridges does it take to get to the infernal plane of Lucifer? Yes, so we have just finished watching this episode. My first question, as always, is Otto, what brings you to this episode, and why such a departure from our usual fare of sort of season 1, season 2, sort of 20-minute episodes to this more lengthy number? I think I know the answer. Well, I want you to say it.
We're running through the bucket of Burge, the best of Burge, and I know you're thinking that's why I picked this episode. It's not. It's that cigar. I remember watching this, and I saw this cigar, this incredible prop, and he utilizes it to such great effect throughout the episode. Partway through, I'm thinking, you know what? I bet the boys would have a field day talking about just like this single prop is so good, and it's to the point like. If you get a single frame of him grinning like the Penguin with that prop in his mouth, and I gave you 2 guesses who this character is, you would get it. Anyone would get it. Like it's so that explains the character so neatly, so nicely. So, yeah, we've gotten kind of so far the Neapolitan of Burgess Merideth. We started with Time Enough at Last, where he's got these Coke bottle Hubble telescope glasses, and he's kind of meek and mild. And then we go to The Obsolete Man, where, again, another book-focused character, but he sort of builds in intensity and confidence over the course of the episode to the point where he sort of springs the trap. And then we get another departure in this episode with the Devil, and he amps it up another notch. So, Burgess has great range, and I thought it'd be fun to go through the range of his different characters. He has another one in Twilight Zone where he even takes another departure, another left turn. So maybe we'll get to that one in the future, but... this does suffer a little bit from the length. Like I said, this is the only season 4 hour-long episode that we're doing in this first run. What did you guys think about that right off the bat? I mean, was your attention waning? Do you think there could have been scenes cut, or do you think it did okay in the hour format?
I think it definitely kept the pacing going. Like there wasn't a dead moment. There wasn't a moment I thought, this should have been in here or this should have been here. Like it fitted the mold of like, hey, this could have been like another episode of this quirky couple running a printing paper. Like this could be the episode where the boss meets the devil. You know, next week they get an ice cream man who now works for the staff and keeps getting like Neapolitan over the linotype machine. I don't know, but as also like some, this is my first exposure to Burgess Merideth, and my God, like obviously counting the other episodes we've already watched, but like my first exposure to him, and my God, like he's really cool. Like his acting is something else. Like he's really campy. Like he really overplays things, but the things he does are like nothing I've seen before. Like the way he expresses himself with his eyes, or just like that inner eyelid twitches and things like that. The over dramatic expressions. It's engaging to watch, and that is half of it. If this didn't have that character in it, this would not be half the episode it is. I feel like he pulls a lot of weight in the dramatic. I'll
go further than that, and I'll say that if it weren't for Burgess Meredith, this would be an interminable hour-long slog.
Yeah,
everyone else here is fine, but it's not enough to support an hour. Burgess Meredith allows you to run this for an hour.
So, Idle, you've never seen the original Rocky?
I haven't. No, I've not seen any Rocky films.
Oh,
be good.
Next week, baby.
Yeah,
I would. Yeah, I know. I'm down for it.
So Burgess Meredith, I wouldn't say that he disappears into his roles. He's got mannerisms that he carries with him between them, but he really absorbs this character, and I could easily see this episode having been written with a magical linotype machine that just winds up doing this without an agent of chaos to help us understand and bridge that concept. So yeah, I agree. I mean, his addition here is indispensable. It would have been a very boring 50 minutes, without him. I really appreciate it. And here's an episode where I think Serling knows that his audience is smart enough that they could try to dangle the carrot and make us guess at who Burgess's true nature really is, but they let us off the hook right in the very first scene that he appears. We know, we don't have to guess. he's not insulting our intelligence. And so the fact that we're kind of in on it for the entire episode is fun. Watching the other characters come to the realization was also a great, an interesting way to handle things that lets us play along.
Actually, my favorite scene from Robert Sterling, who I think he hit the nail on the head, stars. They're all okay, but they're not carrying the episode. Burgess carrying the episode. My favorite scene from Sterling is when it clicks for him, and he laughs to himself. He goes, "You're the devil." It's like he couldn't believe that he hadn't gotten that already, and it just clicked with him. While we're talking about Burgess Meredith, I wanna give you a little bit more on him. The director of this episode, Ralph Sinensky, the treasure trove I stumbled upon this week, Sinensky.com, Sensky. Every project that he's done, including 7 episodes of Star Trek, he went and wrote about it on his website. He's included some handwritten scripts, reference videos, like very thorough, awesome detail from behind the scenes stuff. So I'm glad that we get a little bit for this episode, but I want to just read a little bit about where he talks about Burgess Meredith. The day in pre-production when Burgess came to the studio for his wardrobe fitting was an exciting day for me. They had rolling racks hung with trousers, shirts, vests, ties, belts, hats. They had canes and cigars, all sizes, all shapes. Watching Burgess in front of a full-length mirror examining different combinations was an experience, because with each change of wardrobe, his whole demeanor changed. He didn't just drape different garments on his torso. He put them on, and his body reacted. He felt them. He literally became another person with each change. I lost count of the number of different Mr. Smiths I saw that day, but I relished the one that was eventually born. Actors like Burgess Meredith fascinated me with the preparation they brought to their roles. They didn't just memorize their lines. As Beulah Bondi once said to me, after the lines are learned, that's where the work begins. I'm sure Burgess took his cue for how to work at the linotype machine from one of Jackie's lines. If he doesn't play Chopin's Polonaise, I'm going to be disappointed. It was a decade before I saw Burgess Meredith again. I was directing an episode of a terrible series, Search, and Burgess had a thankless supporting role on it. A total waste of a magnificent talent. We talked about Printer's Devil. He told me that the night it aired, he received a congratulatory telegram from director-screenwriter John Huston. 48 years later, which is now 61 years later, Printer's Devil is still aired.
So it's actually really funny that he mentions the wardrobe fitting. And I imagine Meredith might have had a degree of say in, I'm not sure how much it was. I imagine it would have been a conversation between him, the writer, the director, the costume designer. Because something I noticed while he was using, like, I think it was like a cardigan or something like that, as almost like a way to create more of a silhouette of black. And all I was thinking through it was, like, how most Draculas or, like, a period era Sherlock Holmes will use a cape for dramatic flourish and dramatic emphasis. And here it's just like there was a little bit of that suggestion of darkness and of, like, a silhouette without being too obvious, even though the rest of it is so obvious. Just a nice little visual suggestion. It's not as obvious as Boyce's actor in the Martian episode, like, having a literal painting of horns behind him. But it's a subtle little touch that I kept on noticing, which is like the kind of touches I appreciate. So clearly he picked well.
So if anyone wants to know
it's funny. I think you were going there. I was going to say it's funny you mentioned Dracula, because go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to mention the from our notes that Auto is wonderfully compiled for us, but no, the special effect of Burgess Meredith creating a flame to light a cigar. So as he snapped his fingers, this day and age we just do it with a bit of CG. You can't do that in 1963. He very realistically has a flame coming out of his finger. If you look very closely, you'll see there's actually some fluid on lighter fluid on his finger.
I did notice that, yeah.
He had to hold his fingers in a can of ice water until they were numb, and then a crew member put lighter fluid on his fingers, and they had a couple of electric wires attached. So he literally set his finger on fire twice, probably more for retakes.
How did you do that special effect? We actually just set most.
We lit Burgess Meredith on fire. Don't worry, he's committed to the bit.
Literally. He doesn't, well, obviously his finger's numb, but can you imagine, it's just like, how am I going to make my finger numb? I'll just get it in ice, or just sit on it for a little bit.
I like to imagine he's on the phone with his family, like, oh, so how you doing, honey? Oh, it's fine, honey. I'm just numbing my fingers like it's set me on fire. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
I did
like that you make him sound like a 1940s mob boss. Look here, see, honey.
Well, is that not what he sounded like? Is that not what the devil is?
But I did like the recurring through line of him always asking for a light Like he was always asking people for matches, like like you got a light, like you can do it yourself, but that's not the hook. That's the reason, isn't it?
It's almost like the Joker. Like we obviously the Penguin is all over this performance, but there's a little bit of the Joker of just constantly being in on his own joke and constantly laughing and getting very, very annoyed at Jackie when she refused to play along.
Another cut in from the director, Sinensky. As Meredith had his finger in the can of ice, I assured him that the special effects man had guaranteed the process would not burn him. His response was, I'm not worried about getting burned. I'm more concerned with freezing to death.
I guarantee you, putting this lighter fluid on your finger and setting it on fire will not burn you.
60s.
There it is. It's a handshake guarantee, that is. Okay, what do we
I've
think?
also got some tinfoil eyes to give you.
Oh, God. What do we think about the overall plot, though? Because it's a pretty obvious plot in my eyes. Like the devil comes. It's like you said. We spoke in our viewing. It's a pretty Faust plot. The devil comes to offer you something that you want more in the world, and you sell your soul to get it. And I would say my flaw in this is that it wasn't something more than that. Like I think Otto, you pre-warned us to say like reset your brains because this isn't the mind trip that Twilight Zone usually is. This is a more traditional style story. So I wonder what you thought of that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I was waiting to see what the quote-unquote twist was, and the twist was kind of, oh yeah, he does actually work his way out of the deal. Which is like, so often with stories like this, you don't get that. So often
but he did have the big cheat machine. He had the cheat machine. It's like, yeah, just write what you want.
Yeah, no, but that's the thing, like that's what makes this slightly different to most Faustian stories. It's like most Faustian stories, you do not escape them. They are literally, you made the deal, guess what, you're dead. Like, from scene one, you're dead. So here, he at least had that chance. I did find it really interesting that they decided to go for, because like this is a story you can tell with basically anyone who has a degree of like influence or power. It could have been a politician, it could have been a mayor, it could have been like there's a character in Marvel Comics who's literally like he sells his entire soul to the devil for so that his town will be fine because he's the mayor. And it's like you could have told us with any kind of, but I found it interesting that they went for a newspaper editor, some like a especially at the time, an occupation where they're almost accused of like you're profiting off of misery, off of negativity, and you kind of get a little foreshadowing of that with the view of the Gazette versus the Courier, where they're running the exact same stories, but the Courier's running them as a much more positive kind of spin, but the slanderous one is the one that gets like results. So they do a fair bit in here to make sure that you are still fairly sympathetic to good old Doug, which is interesting. I don't know if that was a case of Serling letting his own experience with news and stuff like that kind of influence him because of creating a sympathetic character there, or if it was just a case of I'm going to make you sympathize with a character you wouldn't traditionally sympathize with because of their occupation.
Yeah, Stars, I really like where you're going with this because they're the bit of exposition we get at the top of the episode showing the two papers side by side, and the one paper is covering an aspect of the beauty pageant where there is some sort of I guess fraud involved with it, and the other is just covering it, just straight coverage. So you could think, whether or not maybe the Dansburg Gazette got scooped, maybe there was something that they just missed, and so now they've lost trust. But also, what you're touching on is, and this was a big topic at the time, and in times prior and times today, is that of yellow journalism. So if anyone's not familiar with the topic, it's creating bombastic, ridiculous headlines just to get people to buy the paper for the day, and it was a term popularized probably 50 or 60 years before with Hearst and who was the other guy, Pulitzer, where they competed against each other for subscriptions and headlines, and resorted to increasingly extreme and bawdry headlines just to get the papers to fly off. And so I think there's a lot of that to be said about this episode, and that's the real key about why they chose a newspaper editor. And you can pick any good man and find him at his rock bottom moment, but they made a specific choice here to go with the newspapers, which I thought was interesting.
I find it really interesting that you mentioned William Randolph Hearst, because there's a really great quote that I learned about from a Bond movie, which we'll be covering eventually when we do that series, which is apparently he famously said, you provide the pictures, I'll provide the war, which feels very much like a framing device for this entire episode.
Tomorrow Never... No.
Yeah, that was
yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, okay.
Which is very prurient because the big plot point of that movie is creating tomorrow's news today.
Yeah.
So to pick up on the yellow journalism, this story was based on the writer's short story from 1951 called "The Devil You Say." Very subtle title.
Oh, very good.
So that was Charles Beaumont's first professional sale, and the original story was way more over the top with those headlines. Some of the headlines were "Mayor's Wife Gives Birth to Baby Hippopotamus," and SS Queen Mary discovered on Main Street. So that is absolutely a direct reference to that sort of over the top competition.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So I do want to kind of point on something here, which is that, Otto, you've made mention in the past of like a lot of the dynamics between male and female characters in Twilight Zone. Like, you get a fair good few ones, which we've had, and then you get the dynamic of kind of the long suffering. They're not husband and wife here, but it's still the same dynamic. You know, the long suffering, everyman and the nag, which I feel like Jackie kind of straddles that line here. Of at first she's kind of like that, but then obviously, guess what? Like, Doug starts to go way out there, and you're like, okay, yeah, no, go back to the nagging. He clearly needs it. There's not a ton of nuance in their sort of like relationship here, which is why we've been talking about how much Burgess like is carrying this entire escapade. But they do manage to, I think, hold it down pretty decently, and you don't necessarily want anything bad to happen to them. It's just a case of like, there's not a ton of character to Doug and Jackie. I mean, I remember their names, which is always a good sign. If I don't remember the characters' names, you fuck up. But yeah, it's a case of they are very much archetypal rather than specific in this instance.
Doesn't help that she has Kess hair, really, but
She does.
Lego hair, I think you
it's
call
got
it.
the
Yeah.
Lego hair, but it's clearly a massive.
Which is
wig.
funny because then, Dan called out, she's got the toothache rag wrapped around her head just to keep the wig on when they're driving. So
No, I thought they had good chemistry. It was you have to bring in the audience and you have to bring in really two halves of the audience so that they can attach to the episode and glomp onto the main characters. And I don't think that she was done a disservice. She was the editor of the newspaper, so she had an important position. She wasn't there just to make sure that he was stocked well with cigarettes and so there was a purpose, and I think that they were believable. It was fine. It didn't add a whole lot to the episode, but I understand why they were both there.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a few familiar tropes in this. There's the down and out newspaper episode that goes to commit suicide after having a drink and sort of sending his wife away and things like that. And there's obviously the devil trope. There's this is the baseline of a lot of stories that are built from other stories.
Well, It's a Wonderful Life.
It is, and It's a Wonderful Life and things like that. Yeah.
But how about instead of an angel, we got a devil? All right,
yeah. I'm a sucker for a devil. I feel like I'd be harsher on this episode if Burgess Merideth wasn't so stunning.
Without Burgess, you would not have an episode. This would not be worth watching, I'd say.
So let's shout out a few of the details, and you guys can help me fill it in. Little details that made Burgess and the Devil great. One I can think of right there is when Doug is calling to check if one of the stories is true, and you get the reflection shot in the glass of Burgess watching with a sort of a grin on his face, and then when he finds out, he slinks away, and he kind of fades out from that. That was a good shot.
He had one as well where he was in the background, like him and I think it was the other newspaper editor were talking. He's just there. He's out of focus in the background. He's just grinning, and you can I don't know why, but I wasn't paying attention to anything in the scene. I was just looking at him, and I think that was quite clever. That was good.
Yeah, I think I had noticed early on, and there's two separate occasions where he's met Jackie for the first time and really focused on her, maintaining eye contact, and then just when their gaze is about to break, he checks out her body. So just those little things he throws in there.
He makes a reference to the waitress owner. She's a big one.
She moves fast for a big one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Which, if you remember last episode, I said he's gonna throw in a off-color line that's gonna make me look at. Once he said that, I'm like, all right, this is the character they're going for. This is not, the Burgess that I'm used to. So
yeah. I also really appreciated the scene where he and Doug sit down to negotiate the contract. And he takes the time to pull down all of the curtains just to make sure that no one can watch in, to close Doug off from everyone else, to close him off from the world and create this little enclosed space of claustrophobia. And look, it's fine. We're in private. You can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. You're safe here. That thing.
What I liked about that,
there's a bit of physicality to that.
I liked about that conversation is how he started off as like, you don't believe I'm the devil, do you? How can? Because usually like devil characters come out and say, "Hey, sign this. I'll trick you." They go, "You're not the devil." They'd be like, "No," but he comes out and says, you don't think I'm the devil. He actually actively tries to convince him that he is not the devil, and yet hands him a piece of paper saying, "Give me your soul."
I think that might be one of my favorite aspects of this devil's
really
characterization, because there's so many different ways that you can play the devil. There's like the used car salesman, which like I think like they do in like I think I've seen
Futurama.
Oh, there's an actor I forget. No, Peter Stormare, I believe, does a really good version of that kind of devil in Ghost Rider. Bizarrely enough,
is the devil from Futurama based on Burgess Meredith here? Now I'm thinking that actually might be quite close. Shit.
It's probably on there. They Matt Groening about that.
Before we get too far away, another cut-in from director Sinensky. At this point, Beaumont's script had a wonderfully written 6.5-minute scene between Doug and Mr. Smith. In anticipation of that scene, I had the set designer install window shades in Doug's office. I wanted to be able to shut out the large printing room to create a claustrophobic entrapment feeling as we enacted a climactic scene of our modern-day version of Faust.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, and there's different ways that you can play the devil, but I kind of appreciated this turn of the devil's like, because you have to imagine the devil's just sitting in hell, right? And he's like, well, damn it, we live in the modern world, no one believes in God and Satan anymore, I have to come up with a new tech. And he's like, what if I just play on the fact that they don't believe that there's a devil anymore? What if I play on the godless like kind of thing that like America was allegedly going through at this period of time? And go, well, surely your soul has no worth. Surely, like, therefore, you can sign whatever you want and you get everything for free. So, like, I love the devil is just playing against himself here. And, like, you have to imagine the gods up in, like, heaven, like, you motherfucker. You absolute piece of shit.
I'm trying to sell newspapers here. How dare you? Everything is okay. It's all fine. Go about your business.
So Twilight Zone's got 156 episodes, and when you have one guy writing 2/3 of that, you're gonna have a couple of redos. So there is another episode where there's a devil and they sign a contract, but I think they do it differently enough because the devil is a beautiful young lady, and the guy selling a contract is just a despicable piece of trash instead of a down on his luck newspaper reporter. So I think by keeping the main story intact but switching out as many elements as you can kind of rehash 2 or 3 times without making it feel too familiar.
Okay. Anything else before we go on to the next section? No. Okay. Time for bread. Yes, this is our bread. What moment in the episode stood out to you as being your bread of the moment? Dan, start us off.
Burgess Meredith's sheer delight at operating the linotype. He sits down, and so I think the word maestro was used in the description, but just his flowy way of just dancing over the keys and his sheer joy at knowing he was exactly where he wanted to be, and he'd played these poor people exactly the way he wanted. Fantastic.
It reminded me of people when they pretend to play piano on TV.
Same thing,
They're always so exaggerated, and it's like, guys, that's not how you play piano, but that's how they play piano on TV. So,
Auto, go on. What was your bread of the episode?
I'm going to preface this with one last cut-in from Mr. Sinensky, talking about the scene early on where he pulls onto the bridge and is thinking about jumping. That was not the way I envisioned the scene on the bridge. Since Doug left the car headlights on, I wanted that to be the light source. Doug would be harshly front-lit, and the stranger, Mr. Smith, when he appeared, would be backlit, mysterious, a feeling of danger. Not until he lit a cigar, after Doug headed back to his car, would we see the face of the devil. I presented my concept to George Clemens, who you might remember from The Lonely, the director of photography, and his response was that he didn't see it that way. We took our disagreement to the producer, who listened and, unfortunately for me, sided with George. The scene still works because of Meredith's bravura performance, maybe even better because you can see his face. And it's helped by the post-production edition of The Fog. But Burgess's vocal performance was so great, I still would have liked to have filmed it my way. My bread is that scene as filmed. And I get you want to go for the dramatic, the spooky reveal.
You want to go for the noir scene. That's what he wants.
But as someone who has danced with suicidal thoughts for his entire adult life, this episode or this scene, I felt that scene. He pulls up, he gets out of the car, and he looks over the edge, and we get this great shot from the water's edge looking up, and you can see the reflection of the light against the bridge. And I had to think in that moment, Rod does the cut in early on where he's like, put whiskey in a man's hand, send him to the bridge. You can't know what he's thinking. I can't. I'm like, I think I can. And he's thinking, the water's so dark and so deep and so quiet, I can just slip away and it'll all be gone. And that hit me. So I like the way that it was originally done. You could have done a more dramatic. They already lit his finger on fire, so I don't know how much more dramatic you want to go in that scene. But I really like the way it was filmed as is. So shout out to the director there. But I think they ended up doing it the right way.
Yeah, great pick.
Stars.
My bread probably has to be. It has to be Mr. Smith, aka the Devil, handing Doug the gun, and then he just decides to let off 3 rounds into him. And guess what? Everyone knows what the deal is. You could be a 3-year-old watching this, and you go, "That's a bad man. He's not going to get hurt by that." So the camera doesn't even bother to pan down.
No,
they
it doesn't,
don't
does it,
bother to
actually?
show you the gun. They don't bother to show you the gun going off. They don't really need to show you it. It's just a case of bang, 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 and it's like,
You know what's going on.
you might as well. He's just fucking Burgess doing his big old grin because he knows. He knows. Everyone knows. And it's just Doug going futilely against the world. And it's like, guess what? This is what happens. You have to be smarter than this. You can't. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? And I feel like that's just like a good epitome of his entire performance here. Of just he never really loses control, because even when he loses, you don't get the satisfaction of seeing the devil like. He doesn't disappear going, you got me, in like a ball of flame. You don't even see him disappear. He's just suddenly not there. It's like, oh, I lost this round. I'll go again. And that's why, even though he loses, he doesn't really lose. He lost this particular round, but he even says, I've got plenty of other clients to be getting back to. He's still in control, even though he lost.
Yep. And important to the theme of the episode, too, that Doug was using the wrong tool to defeat the evil here. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. My bread is definitely the thing that just confused me the entire episode, because I'm not a smoker by any means. But that cigar, it was just wonky and crooked. Like, did people have cigars like that? Or was this... The one thing I could thought was, like, they styled it to give him a bit of a Willy Wonka kind of, like, twisted... A Mad Hatter kind of... sort of roguish kind of things. Like, this is his unique little twirl. He just has an infinite supply of these twisted... twerk cigarettes that he just smokes 3 puffs.
I mean, he is the devil. He can have as many as he wants.
know, but it was such a unique character item that it just stayed in my brain, like, for the whole thing. But I think it was good. It's a good thing. I very much enjoyed the twisted cigar because it was something different, and
it gives him a visual silhouette, which is important.
And that too, yeah. Because you're right. If you had a silhouette of him on the roll, like, oh yeah, that's Burgess Meredith's devil. Like, I know who that is.
I don't know an actor who doesn't love a good prop, because you can do so much more.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter what the prop is. You can do just so much more. It gives you ideas too, if it's,
Well, it's like Avery Brooks
payoff.
and J.G. Hertz with Cisco's baseball. Like, it's the exact same thing of them playing over it, holding it, looking at it. And it's like, there's a whole other layer of physical interaction that happens there that doesn't necessarily have to be on the page. It lets you just ad-lib a little bit as an actor, and actors love doing that.
Okay. And it's time to move on to...
Well, if that's the best they could do, this should last about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. We will retrace our steps and figure out what's going on.
You've got 5 minutes. Do it.
Last 5 minutes. How would you watching right now, how would you change the last 5 minutes of this episode? What twist would you change? I'm going to start on this one. I'm going to reverse the order. I'm going to start on this one. My last 5 minutes... very, very quick. It wouldn't even be the last 5 minutes. Probably be the last 2 minutes. But I'd change it so actually the devil wins. Actually, he goes out. He leaves the paper. Johnny Winter, whatever his name was. I forget the names. But that's more me than the story. His wife is, or his other half is sadly demised. He ends up, sadly committing suicide. Lost. The paper crumbles. But the twist in the little twist to put in the end there would be that the devil, due to his actions, is actually trapped by the machine he created. He actually cannot leave it. He has to write for the newspaper for eternity, and he cannot destroy the machine. So I'd sort of put like a little twist in there to say that his own creation has trapped him in this kind of limbo. That would be my last 5 minutes, I think. There you go. Stars, your last 5 minutes, please.
You know what? I have 2 here that I think I'm going to do. I have a variation on yours. So you go with the exact thing. Yeah, Jackie dies. The devil wins, and you cut to Doug at the newspaper office with the gun there, And then Mr. Smith appears, like, oh, so you haven't done it yet. He's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to make you sit and watch me for the rest of my natural born life, being miserable, doing good things, and I'm going to make you sit there in the corner watching while I do it. And then the devil just has to take it, because guess what? The rest of my life in exchange for service is rendered. That's the exact contract. I'm an absolute lover of exact wording, play. That's why I love Devil Stories so much. Like the exact clauses, the exact wording is so much fun. So even if it's a case of in the end you get my soul, you killed Jackie, but I made you fucking work for it, you little fuck. Like that'd be a fun little twist on that.
You're gonna write stories about child's pageants, and you're gonna love it.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Okay,
let's
sorry.
Not Donnie Darko this.
I'll cut that.
Yeah, let's not.
Sorry.
An alternative.
No, leave that in there. People need to know what we have to deal with on a week-to-week basis. All right.
Sorry.
Let's not have any blue humor. Idle exist. I guess in terms of another. In terms of another twist on it, I guess I would probably go with Jackie dies in the crash, and then the devil appears, but it's taken her form instead, and it just he keeps on body swapping. It just does like an added little twist. I don't think there's much you can really do to change the last 5 minutes, because it is so fun. The twist is revealed in the first 3, so there's not much you can do to change the particulars of it.
First 5 minutes,
but just the little. Well, yeah, maybe.
Right, hold on.
Just the little.
If we're ramping this up,
come on.
It's cat time. All right, guys.
Oh, wow.
Be nice.
Come on, Stasi, let it slide down.
Okay. Shake hands. All right.
Oh, mine's gone. No, get off there. That's the reset button for the computer. Get off. Jesus Christ. All right.
Oh, my God.
The last 5 kittens.
Yeah, that'd be the last little dramatic flourish. Just everything goes the same, but it's Jackie is the devil in that instance.
Okay, Dan. Last 5 minutes.
So, Doug successfully defeats the devil at his own game. But he wants to have his cake and eat it too. He figures, well, if this linotype, this enchanted linotype is strong enough to defeat the devil, maybe I can still keep it and handle it. So he has the linotype write his life path the way that he wants to. He decides that rather than rehiring Andy, he doesn't need Andy anymore. He didn't need the devil. He didn't need Mr. Smith anymore. He's going to ask the linotype, tell the linotype that the linotype can now type its own headlines.
Ooh.
So now his linotype is now, yes, exactly, is now writing the future on its own power, so he can sit back and relax and enjoy his life with Jackie. And the last line that the linotype produces before we fade to black is that now everybody in the news industry is out of business, and now it's in charge. So, yeah,
fun. I like it.
Auto.
A little bit of apocalypse. I'm always down for that.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to put little googly eyes on the machine so it has its own soul.
Every time it shakes, it jiggles.
No, you've got to stop. This is how we get Landrew. Stop it.
Yeah.
Hello, I am Mr. Linus Linotype.
Linus Linotype, fucking hell.
All right, so my last 5. Sometime during the car ride, Burgess jumps in the driver's seat and they speed off. Mr. Smith explains to Jackie who he is and what his deal is with Doug. So we get another parlor trick. He'll light his fingers on fire or something to convince Jackie he's really the devil. And because she loves Doug so much, she reluctantly agrees, okay, take me instead, save him, spare him, I love him. We get the scene intercut. Doug back in the Courier finds the gun that Mr. Smith left there. He has the same struggle. I don't know what to do. I couldn't stop him. To save Jackie, I guess I have to sacrifice myself. And we get a side-by-side where they both make the decision at the same time. They wouldn't show it on TV. Then we get a tight shot on Burgess Merideth. He does the Antonio Banderas, because he just got 2 souls. And he gives us the line, 2 for the price of 1. Not bad for a day's work. And then he'll light a cigar and he'll walk off into the darkness.
That's very good. I do like that.
But before we go on and do the ratings, I cut you guys off early while we were watching the episode. We were spinning up what kind of stories would you write on this machine that makes anything come? If you were Douglas Winters, if you were Mr. Smith, what would you be writing on this machine? And let's try to keep it clean, gentlemen.
Ooh.
I mean, I already said it during our watch on Star Trek Enterprise Season 5. That's an easy one.
Yeah. Lo and behold, we saw the birth of Gene Roddenberry right there. Gosh, I don't know if you had a printer that would make anything true that you wrote. It's the genie of infinite wishes, isn't it? But would it have
no
the
more
monkey ball?
superhero movies. I think might be mine.
All my favorite characters are only written well and in character from now on.
Man invents self-filling pack of cigarettes.
All right, Mr. Serling, calm down. You've got other stories to write.
All cigars suddenly bent forever.
Freud would have a field day with that.
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Idle manages to get through 2 or 3 streams with absolutely professional behavior.
Absolutely, and no toilet breaks whatsoever.
Well, no, I can't ask for that. Even the devil can't make that.
Even the devil's like, no, I'm not buying.
No.
Okay, let's go on to.
I can show you my rating code.
Schiller rating 3.5. Associational rating norm -3.
That's much too low a rating.
Much too low a rating.
Seeing an unsatisfactory rating on a member of my crew.
That's right. It is our rating criteria for this episode, 0 to 10. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is actually my turn this week. I do have something. Gentlemen, please, how many of Burgess Meredith's partially smoked crooked cigars out of 10 would you give this? I'm keeping it quite simple this week, but let's start with Otto.
So I pre-rated this an 8, and I do love Burgess Meredith, but I think about some other Twilight Zone episodes, some other TV. I guess we're rating this for TV in general. There have been some that have changed my life. There have been some that I think about every day. And so, an 8 is very strong, and part of it is the hour-long format, but this is not an excellent episode. This is a good episode. And some might even think it's a great episode, but it's not top shelf. So I got to bump it. I'll bump it down a little bit to 7.4 Burgess Meredith partly smoked crooked cigars out of 10. I think it's eminently watchable. But if I'm on TV land or whatever and this comes on, I might only watch half of it before I flip to something else. So, for a first watch, definitely worth watching. It's a solid episode, yeah.
Dan.
So I did enjoy the episode, and for it being our first double length, I really didn't feel it. I think all the acting work was just fine. I can't. The message of the episode was, I wouldn't say dated because we still struggle with yellow journalism today, but a little bit lost in just the sense of we need to have some fun and keep the viewers coming back for another commercial break here. So I do need to downgrade for my first time in the series, but I'll have to downgrade. See, and here's where I break it wide open here. I'm going to downgrade to a 7. So
that's much too low a rating.
Sorry, that would be seven Burgess Meredith's wacky waving inflatable arm flailing cigars out of 10.
Amazing. Yeah. Stars, give us your Schiller rating. How much are you shilling this episode?
I'm actually going to have to downgrade this to 6.5 of Burgess Meredith's curvy, wacky, inflatable, devilishly curved cigars out of 10. Devilishly curved. And I feel like at least, guess what? Burgess Meredith is the price of admission. You are here for Burgess Meredith. And not a ton else. I feel like he's 5.5 of the score, and then there's 1.2. I appreciate a good Faustian bargain gambit. I appreciate the little touches like the yellow journalism and the little touches, the editorial flair. But let's be real here. If you took out Burgess and you put in a fine actor who was on the level of, say, Robert Sterling or Jackie's actress, guess what? This would be boring. It would be completely middle of the road. It is entirely elevated. And I would say it would be boring. It would be straight up like a 3 or a 4 at best. But it's only because of the unique charisma of this one actor that it's worthwhile watching. But guess what? He is in it, so it's worth watching.
Dan, you're going to have to give your alternative headline title. You just sent it to me, and I feel like it deserves to go on the episode. Go on, what was your one?
So I like to have a backup, even though it was your turn. My concept was how many hastily hewn headlines to head off Hades out of 10. But,
oh, that's good.
Oh, very good.
That is
but the cigar is iconic.
I feel like I'm going to echo what most people have said before. It was okay. Burgess basically puts on about 5 points onto this episode just all by himself, or probably more than that. The concept isn't particularly original. It's just, this same devilish plot in the different scenario. It could have been a cafe. It could have been a bank. It was a printers this week. But he does elevate it to very watchable levels. I can't say I didn't enjoy myself, so I'm not going to go quite as low as a 6. I'm probably going to agree with Dan. I'm going to go for a 7. It was good. It was good. But it wasn't. I think I'm also thinking about all the excellent Twilight Zones we've seen before, and I'm comparing it to those rather than comparing it to, like, overall was it a good episode of television. I'm comparing it to sort of the caliber of the excellent Twilight Zone episodes I've already seen. So yeah, I'm going to go for a 7 on that. And that brings our rating to an overall 7 from all of us. So the average is 7 from the 4 of us. Go on, Otto.
Respectable.
Yeah, so before we wrap things up, A, I like to bring things full circle, and B, I did promise this to Stars midweek. So the last bit of trivia here. Hollywood's Dracula envisioned himself as the role of the devil in a film adaptation of this. Bela Lugosi read Beaumont's script and contacted Forrest Ackerman to express the desire that Beaumont write a film treatment starring Bela Lugosi. Unfortunately, it was wishful thinking on his part. They weren't able to secure the funding for a film adaptation. So there's your Gothic literature tie-in to The Lonely, and we'll keep referencing ourselves like any good show.
I like to imagine that movie would have been called Pull the String.
Yeah.
No strings on me.
Pull the string.
Okay, Otto, what are we watching? Sorry, no. Otto's not really. Mr. Serling, what are we watching next week?
Next week, the typewriter of Mr. Richard Matheson will transport us to the small-town diner, where a young couple in love will receive from this Mephistophelian machine the answer to any question they've ever thought to ask. William Shatner and Patricia Breslin will star in this tale of tension next week on The Twilight Zone.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and stay in print.